The Universal Conservation Outpost on Theta 7 wasn't supposed to be complicated. Milla Ron had signed up for a simple 6-month rotation, catalog the local fauna, maintain the perimeter shields, and ensure the endangered Corvathi pride remained undisturbed in their natural habitat. Nobody had mentioned that the apex predators of this death world would adopt her. Milla sat cross-legged in her observation dome, reviewing her notes from the morning scan, when the familiar weight slammed into her back. 300 pounds of scaled muscle and purring intensity knocked her forward onto her datapad. "Korvac, buddy, we talked about this," she wheezed, trying to turn her head. The massive cub, though at 8 months old, he was hardly a cub by Earth standards, had draped himself across her shoulders like a living, breathing scarf made of knives and affection. His species, the Corvathi, possessed retractable crystalline claws, 6 sensory whiskers that could detect electromagnetic fields, and a bite force that could crack starship hull plating. They were also, as Milla had discovered to her eternal exasperation, absolutely desperate for physical contact. Korvac rumbled, a sound that vibrated through her entire skeletal system. His 2 younger siblings, still unnamed by the pride's matriarch, tumbled through the dome's entrance. They'd learned weeks ago that human habitats had terrible security protocols, at least terrible by Corvathi standards, which meant the biometric lock couldn't account for 6-limbed predators who'd figured out that standing on each. Others' backs gave them the height to trigger the motion sensor. "Oh no," Milla muttered, "not both of you. I have a conference call with the Conservation Council in 20 minutes. The smaller cubs ignored her completely, as they always did. One crashed into her left side while the other claimed her lap, curling into an impossible spiral of tail and teeth. Their scales, still soft with youth, shimmered with the iridescent blues and purples that marked them as healthy juveniles. Both immediately began the deep thrumming purr that Corvathi used to communicate contentment. The problem was simple: they were crushing her. Milla Ron had been a xenobiologist for 7 years. She'd studied on 3 different worlds, earned 2 doctoral degrees, and published papers that had revolutionized humanity's understanding of non-carbon-based cognition. None of that had prepared her for the sheer determination of baby predators who decided she was the softest, warmest thing on a planet where temperatures regularly dropped below freezing at night. Okay, she gasped, trying to shift Korvac's weight off her lungs. 15 minutes! Then you all have to go back to your pride. Your mother is going to think I've kidnapped you." Korvac's response was to drape his massive head over her shoulder and exhale hot breath against her neck. She could feel his triple heartbeats. Corvathi cardiovascular systems were redundant by design, thumping against her spine. The conservation work had been going well, actually. Too well. When Milla had first arrived, the Corvathi pride had observed her with the detached interest of creatures who stood at the top of their food chain. She was novel, perhaps, but not particularly relevant. The matriarch, a scarred veteran named HFY in the Pigeon translation software, had been content to let the strange 2-legged alien putter around the perimeter, taking her readings and muttering into her recording devices. Then Milla had made her mistake. 6 weeks into her rotation, she discovered Korvac caught in a tangle of bioluminescent vines' native flora that had evolved a paralytic defense mechanism. The cub had been convulsing, his nervous system overloaded. Milla had done what any trained xenobiologist would do. She'd administered the broad-spectrum antitoxin from her field kit, carefully unwound the vines, and monitored his vital signs until the paralysis faded. She'd also, without thinking, gathered him into her arms and held him close while he recovered, making soft, reassuring sounds in the universal language of "you're safe now," Korvac had imprinted immediately. Within a week, the other cubs had followed. Within 2 weeks, they'd decided that the warm, soft human who made gentle noises and radiated heat was the greatest discovery in Corvathi history. Better than the thermal vents in the southern territories. Better than the herds of 6-legged ungulates they were learning to hunt. Better than anything. HFY, for her part, seemed grimly amused by the situation. Milla had caught the matriarch watching her on multiple occasions, those 6 predatory eyes tracking every interaction with an intelligence that made Milla profoundly uncomfortable. The pride's alpha female had been perfectly content to let her cubs treat the human as a combination jungle gym, heat source, and apparently stress relief device. 15 minutes, Milla repeated, this time addressing her wrist. Come. Set timer. Respiration break in 15 minutes? The device chirped confirmation. It had become necessary to actually schedule breathing time. Her medical monitor had started sending automated warnings to the outpost's AI about sustained pressure on her thoracic cavity. She'd had to file 3 separate incident reports explaining that no, she wasn't being attacked by the local megafauna, she was being loved to death by them. The younger cub in her lap shifted, pressing his cold nose against her palm. His eyes, 4 primary, 2 auxiliary, blinked in sequence, the Corvethy equivalent of a contented smile. The gesture was unbearably sweet. It was also cutting off circulation to her left leg. You know what humanity discovered, Milla said conversationally, addressing all 3 cubs, is that Earth used to have these creatures called cats, domesticated predators. They'd sit on your chest at 3 in the morning and you couldn't move them because of an ancient rule called, if I fits, I sits. Korvac's purr intensified. He understood exactly nothing of her explanation, but he recognized the tone of voice she used when she was accepting her fate. You're all just really big, really deadly cats, Milla continued, managing to extract one arm enough to pat the cub on her lap. Except you weigh 300 pounds, have claws made of compressed crystal, and your species considers a light snack to be something that would take an entire human hunting party to bring down. The Conservation Council could wait. The conference call could wait. Right now, 3 juvenile apex predators had decided that this exact moment was perfect for contact comfort, and Milla Ran had learned something profound during her time on Theta 7. Humanity hadn't become the dominant species in the galaxy through superior strength or advanced technology alone. They'd done it through an almost supernatural ability to look at literally anything from Earth's ancient wolves to these crystalline-clawed nightmares and think, I could pet that, her timer chirped. 15 minutes. All right, everyone off, Milla announced firmly. Respiration break. Come on. 3 pairs of multi-eyed stares fixed on her with identical expressions of betrayal. Don't look at me like that, I need oxygen. It's a biological requirement. Korvac sighed, a sound like wind through canyon stones, but obligingly rolled off her shoulders. His siblings followed with exaggerated reluctance, padding toward the dome's entrance with the dramatic dejection that only juvenile predators could manage. Milla gasped in a full breath, her ribs expanding properly for the first time in 20 minutes. Tomorrow, she'd have to update her reports. Add another entry to the growing file titled Interspecies Contact, Unexpected Complications. But as she watched the 3 cubs settle, just outside the dome, still visible, still close, waiting patiently for their human to be ready for more contact, Milla smiled. Some complications were worth it.